If you're just joining us, please introduce yourself in the chat. If you have any organization that you're affiliated with as well, please put that in the chat as well. And we're going to get started right now. So thank you so much for being with us today for our Bayou Culture Gathering. We're very excited to have Dr. Quenton Fontenot with us. He is a president and founding member of the Cajun Music Preservation Society, and he's here with us to talk today about preserving a part of our cultural heritage. And so we will begin that in just a minute. We want to thank our management team. Well, I'm not going to thank myself, but I'm a part of that team. But I would like to thank Ms. Maida Owens, Dr. Rachel Doherty, and Dr. Gary LaFleur, who bring this program to you guys every month. This is our statement that, we do not support any particular one adaptation or management strategy. We are just here to have some of those difficult conversations and explore some possible solutions that help us through a challenging time in our history when coastal Louisiana is facing so many challenges. Here are our partners that also work hard to bring this program to all of you. There's a Folklife in Louisiana Louisiana Folklife Program, and also Louisiana Folklore Society, the Wetlands Discovery Center, the Center for Bayou Studies at Nicholls State, and the Center for Louisiana Studies at UL. We also could not do this work without the funding from these organizations: the National Endowment for the Arts, the Barataria Terrebonne National Estuary Program, the National Wildlife Federation, M.J. Sindler Family Fund for Culture and Media, the Louisiana Office of Cultural Development through the Division of the Arts, and the Louisiana Endowment for the Humanities. And of course, if you'd like more information about all of this and the Bayou Culture Collaborative, you can find more information at louisianafolklore.org. I'd now like to pass this over to Ms. Maida Owens with the Louisiana Folklife Program.
Hi, the Passing It On workshops offer a way for those most vulnerable communities to make sure traditions are passed on. And also we support the most vulnerable traditions that are not necessarily on the coast. Next slide. As an example, recently we've helped Big Chief Daryl Montana work with 4 members of the original Yellow Pocahontas Hunters, a Black Indian masting group in New Orleans, on costume making. And this happened, this was an unusual format. He wanted 8 sessions in April and May, and so they got a real intensive. Daryl is the man in the center, so we'll be sharing more of what happened in the spring in the coming months.
Thank you so much for that, ma'am. So here's a little bit of the agenda that we're going to go through today. First, we're going to hear from Dr. Quenton Fontenot. Then we'll have a little bit of time for question and answers with him. We'll ask him what his hope for the coast is, and then we'll get an update and information about the working groups and when those working groups will meet again. We open this up for anybody that has any kind of announcements, and then we encourage everyone to stick around until 1:30 after the formal part of the presentation is done. We stick around for about 30 minutes to continue that conversation. So with no further ado, I'm very happy to have with us today Dr. Quenton Fontenot. Again, he is the president and founding member of the Cajun Music Preservation Society, also a professor at Nicholls. If you check out the chat, Maida's putting some interesting information about Dr. Fontenot there, and he's here to talk to us today about preserving a part of our cultural heritage. Dr. Fontenot, thank you so much for being with us today.
All right, thank you. Let me get this up. I'm really glad to be here. I'm really excited to talk about the Cajun Music Preservation Society, what we've done over the last few years, and the mark that we made and the importance of it. But one thing I would like to do is share with you a little bit of my history about where I came from and why this is so important to me. You know, my dad is from Ville Platte, Louisiana, and my mom is from New Orleans. And after my dad finished school, he got a job as district biologist for wildlife and fisheries out of the New Orleans office, and that's where he met my mom. And shortly after that, he was transferred to Baton Rouge, and so I grew up in Denham Springs. But you know, I had a really neat childhood. Is that my grandfather on my dad's side had a camp way out in Southwest Louisiana in Forked Island on the Intracoastal Canal. And going to that camp as a young kid, I learned how to run trot lines, how to clean catfish, how to hunt squirrels, that type of stuff, and really gain an appreciation for that type of fun. Then on my mom's side, we had cousins at a camp down in Grand Isle, Louisiana. And down there, I learned how to catch crabs, catch trout, clean trout. I mean, I would go, when we get to the island, the first thing I would do is beg my dad until he couldn't stand it anymore to go buy a pound of bait shrimp so I can go into the surf and just start catching fish. You know, so I grew up really loving the camps. Now, if you go down to Fouchon or Grand Isle and you look at some of those camps they have for now, some people call them a camp. I don't call that a camp. Like what we had at Forked Island was a real camp. And that was our camp down there in Forked Island. That guy there all the way to the right, that's my daddy. So it was a kind of camp where you're pretty much staying outside the whole time. You know, that's what you do. You just go into the camp to sleep or to get out of the rain if it slept, you know. So we spent a lot of times of exploring the areas where we were. And that early exploration of going around the different habitats, the marsh, the Gulf of Mexico, the bottomland hardwood forest. It just really that's what I did for a living. You know, it was just fun. They even trusted me to drive a boat when I was 6 years old. You know, it's pretty fun. And that picture there in the bottom left is my grandfather and my grandmother cooking on a Coleman stove outside of the camp out there, and we were just living it. And growing up, food and music was just part of what we did. You know, I tell a story a lot of times that until I was 18 or 19, I bet our family did not go out to eat together as a group less than 5 times. You know, we just did not go that. We would stay home. I mean, Denham Springs has changed, but when I was there were no good restaurants there. And there was no way that we could get something better to eat than we were cooking. You know, cooking chicken sauce pecan, etouffees, those types of things. And I remember like it was yesterday watching my mom and dad there in the kitchen cooking on their little stove, and they would have a little jam box playing either New Orleans old school jazz or Cajun music or something. And that was normal. That's all we did. When the TV wasn't on, you know, we just hung out and we talked and we enjoyed it. And so early growing up, I thought everybody was like that. You know, that's what you did. You know, you go out, you fish and you run trot lines, you catch crabs, you do whatever. And that was my early years. Then when I got to college, you know, I did well in high school. And so, well, I'll be a doctor. You know, everybody wants to be a doctor. So I go there, I started as a pre-med. But, you know, I was 18, 19 is the late 80s. And that pre-med curriculum really didn't mesh too well with all the external activities available to someone like me back at that time. So after a couple of years, I realized that, you know, maybe medicine isn't for me. And I was talking to a friend of mine and like, what am I going to do? I have no idea what I want to do with my life. He says, well, Quenton, you like the outdoors, you like to fish, you do all of that. You know, you ought to change your major to fisheries. And I said, what? I said, fisheries? He says, yeah. I'm like, you mean to tell me I can take classes about fish and they'll give me a college degree for that? And he said, oh, yeah, do it. And right then and there, I told myself, I'm going to do that and I'm going to get a PhD. I'm going to work at a university. And that was like a life-changing moment for me when I realized that opportunity existed for me. And my grades went crazy. You know, I found my own little spot down there in the bottom corner of the LSU campus in the School of Renewable Natural Resources. I was happy. I was taking courses with master's students and PhD students doing as well, if not better than them. And I really hit my stride. And I mean, it was incredible for me to find something that I loved. I stayed at LSU for my master's degree, and I was a part of a cohort that was working in the Atchafalaya Basin after Hurricane Andrew. For those of you that remember, Hurricane Andrew did almost a complete fish kill out there. And so we were a group of people that were there, and we may start early in the morning and not get back until like 10 or 11 o'clock at night. And there's no McDonald's out there. So true to my form, I would bring my Coleman stove out there and we cook a chicken sauce pecan or pot roast some ducks while we're waiting for the gill nuts to rust, you know, run or whatever. And it was really neat to share my Cajun cooking and that type of experience in music with the other students who were from out of state. You know, we had students there from Illinois, from Georgia and whatnot. And I was really able to share my love with them. Then I went to Clemson for my doctorate. And I was only there for 5 years and 18 days, but I wasn't really counting. But I learned a lot about science there. I was able to get a lot of publications out. And in fact, I was even named the outstanding graduate researcher at one point, and at Clemson University, I was really proud of that. But while I was there, I was able to bring in my Cajun influence there. I taught everybody about gumbo and cooking and the Cajun music, and we would, do dances in the front yard and whatnot. And so I kept to my roots. Even though I was living out of state, I stayed with the way that I grew up. I would travel back home all the time just to come to festivals. I brought a group of friends in to the Zydeco Festival in Plaisance one time, and it was incredible. Talking about cooking and all, we would get behind the right field fence of the Clemson baseball field, and we would cook because you could have a beer back there. You couldn't go inside the stadium and have one. And I hooked up with a guy who was with the athletic department over there, down on email. He went by truck, and he's from Louisiana. And then he decided we're going to start doing this more. So he put some scaffolding up behind the fence so we could see over the fence. We put a big grill up there, and we start smoking. Well, this was the year that Clemson was ranked #1 most of the season. So we had big crowds, and while we were cooking all these Cajun dishes, we would bring them up to the people in the press box that were on the radio calling the game. So they started calling us the Right Field Cajun Cafe. Well, since I've left, you can see the picture there on the bottom right. That is now at the Clemson baseball stadium called the Cajun Cafe. These are prime seats that people sit in, like box seats. And this is us just doing what we do, right? We go to tailgate at a party, we cook, we have a good time. And that was passed on, so that was, I feel like I left my mark. I mean, I would walk into bars over there and they'd be playing Zydeco music from a CD that I gave them. And I just loved it, So I really enjoyed that. But I want to say that, like I said, I like keeping to my roots. And then one day I drove back down from Clemson all the way to Grand Isle to meet my family down there. It was a long drive, not 12 hours on one day, I got pulled over by a state trooper because my brake tag had expired. I even kept all my gas receipts to show him that I just drove in from South Carolina. And he said, it doesn't matter because you're supposed to keep that up. And to hear his Cajun accent, it was so good to my ears. I didn't care I was getting a ticket. Nice. But there's a big impact to me on that trip. And that was when I got down to Leeville down there. And here's a shot of Leeville with a new bridge. And if you remember, that old bridge on Highway 1 was right there. And you come across that yellow part there to that new bridge, and you take that big right-hand turn. And I did that, and I looked out there, and all I saw was water. And that was it. And that's when I started to pay attention. I've been in Clemson for a few years. I kind of, wasn't day-to-day hearing what's about going on in Louisiana. And so that is when I realized that our coast is in trouble and that we need to do something about it. And that was a big point for me. I almost wrecked when I came across there and saw how open the water was. Well, I got married to Dr. Elise Ferrara in 2001, and she started at Nichols in 2002 in January. I started in August, and we established a Biosphere Research Lab, which we still operate today. We do a lot of work. She does a lot of work, spawning spotted gar, producing embryos for all types of research. We do coastal restoration work. We do monitoring. We grow plants for restoration work. And one of the things that she got us into was community-based restoration projects, where we would get funds to do vegetation plantings on the coast that we could get the community involved. And this is right after Katrina. And everybody was going around wondering, what can we do? What can we do? And she was like, let's get them down there and let's have the people get involved and let them do something. And so we do a lot of different stuff in our lab, but we engage the community as much as we can. Now, while we were there, we, earlier in the years, we're able to make friends with Anka Tan. And she was the librarian that she started doing these Cajun dinner and dances. And then we worked with her and we established a Louisiana Swamp Stomp Festival on campus. And it was fantastic. Gary and I would be MCs on stage. We'd introduce the bands. I can't tell y'all how hard my heart would pound when I was on stage with one of my musical idols and get to introduce them. I was trembling with fear standing next to someone, to me, who was like the biggest music person in the world. And I was on stage with them. It was incredible. People like Steve Riley and Gino Delafos and those guys. It was just incredible experience for me. And not only that, but we got to talk to them behind stage. And people like Bruce Daguerpont would come in and say, hey, Quenton, thank you so much for having us over here. We love coming down to Bayou to play. We love it. We just don't get to come down here anymore. They don't bring Cajun music down to these festivals. So I thought, I was kind of naive. I thought, well, maybe they're just not inviting you. We'll see who's doing what's that. So I got together, and being a scientist, I had to do a survey. So I looked at all these festivals that are in our region over here, and I looked at all of the bands that they had on their list. So I wrote down the total number of bands, and then based on my classification, I would call them either a Cajun band, a Zydeco band, or a hybrid band. Would play a little bit of both. And I was kind of shocked that, whenever you look at the total number of bands and the number of Cajun and Zydeco bands together, actually 0 traditional Cajun bands. And I was like, whoa. So those musicians were right. We aren't getting Cajun music down here in our region. We get a little bit of Zydeco, and beyond most of those with Chubby Carrier, one of my favorite musicians. But there's very little diversity of the Cajun Zydeco music that was being played in our region. So I got together with some friends, and we decided, well, let's do something about that. Let's start the Cajun Music Preservation Society. And the reason we did that was it was obvious that except for like the Swamp Stomp Festival and maybe a band here or there were very few traditional Cajun music bands that are playing in our region. Not only that, but I wanted to learn to play the accordion. And there was really very, very few people around here that were experienced that could teach me. And so if someone wanted to learn how to play Cajun music locally, there was no one really experienced for them to learn from. And the big thing is I understand that this is our culture. We understand that this is our culture. And this is what makes us recognizable globally. People think about South Louisiana, they think about the music that's down here. So we wanted to make sure that we were able to preserve that. So of course I had to develop a mission, and our mission was simple. It was just to increase the awareness, to promote, preserve, and enhance the appreciation of traditional Cajun music in Southeastern Louisiana. All right. So we do that. Used to be 3 ways, but now we do it 4 ways. The first thing that we do, and we'll talk about this, is we host open Cajun Jams. And these are open to anybody that wants to come and play, all ages. Anybody can do that. We also are like a booking agent. And if you want a Cajun band, call me and we'll find the musicians for your event. We'll get that together. We also host the Swamp Stomp Music Series, and we facilitate Cajun music lessons. So I will briefly go over how these things have developed over time. Our all started with a Facebook page created by Misty McElroy, and she launched the first message on March 31st, 2014. So that's our birth date. Simple, no organization, no nothing, just a Facebook page. And I was kind of new to Facebook then, and so I was watching it, and I go check in, and Elise will tell you, every 3 minutes I come back, 3 more people liked it, 8 more people liked it, and within an hour we had over 100 people that liked this page. Like, what is this? People liking this Cajun music stuff? And so we did that. But it was my good friend Tysman Charpentier, Elise, Misty, and I, we're the ones that started that. And with those first few jams that we did, we got some press. People were really interested in that. We didn't know if this was going to last 2 weeks, 2 months, or whatever. We had no idea what we were getting into, but we were thrilled with the community involvement. This is our first jam. We went on those benches. It's cat a corner from where Freeman's is, down on the down there downtown Thibodaux. And even I saw Chef Kevin Tomplay poke his head out the upstairs balcony and watch us for a little while. A few people will walk by and, well, what are y'all doing out there? But that was it. But then we got in touch with the people at the Foundry. If you remember Foundry on the Bayou, that big balcony, and we asked them if we could do a jam in there. And they said, sure, come on. So we invited some musicians to come in. And this was that first jam on May 14th, 10 years ago. We had young people, we had old people, we had professionals, we had new people. It was just great. And it was a good feeling. It was a good vibe that we did that. And we took those jams, starting to do them every other week, and we moved them out into the balcony. So this is what that looked like back in 2014. You see there's a bunch of people sitting back there. They're relaxing. They got a dog up there, and just some people sitting around in a circle playing music. And Tysman Charpentier, he would pay a couple of his friends who were good musicians $50 each to come and kind of anchor the jam, because we didn't really have a set group of musicians that were, consistently able to play there. And that's how we got our start. Then at the end of that year, we shut it down for a little while, and we thought, hey, we got Mardi Gras coming up. And I've always been intrigued by that group in New Orleans that does I forget their name, but they do the January 6th toast right at the very start of Mardi Gras. I think we should do a January 6th special Mardi Gras jam. And we got in touch with the people that were at the Venetian in Thibodaux, and they said, sure, come on, come do it. And we packed the house. I mean, that first Mardi Gras jam we had a lot of people in there. Now, granted, the space is small. And so when you look at that picture, say on the bottom right-hand corner there, I can count maybe 30 people 30 people was a packed house for us. And we were so pumped up to have 30 people there. And you can see us there in the bottom left picture there, the top left picture, all these other pictures. We're in that little corner back there. You know, and every time I drive by that corner, I look down the window, I think, well, that's where I learned how to play the accordion, right there, sitting right there in that building. And we did those jams. Well, the restaurant group that owned this decided they were going to leave the Venetian and move over to the VFW hall across the street. And that's Gina's at the Legion right now. And they invited us to come jam, and they have a fantastic space. This is what our jam space looks like now at the VFW hall. Notice how big the circle is with the number of musicians. We were having 6 or 7 musicians per jam. Now we might get 20, 25 musicians per jam. All kinds. We have people coming from New Orleans. Natalie brings her cello. She plays. We have people bring a little snare drum. One time we had a person bring a flute. You know, so if you play any instrument except maybe a tuba, you can bring that by and you can play along with us. So right now, for you to know, our jams are held the first and third Wednesday of each month at Gina's at the Legion, but we shut down around Thanksgiving. It's the holidays and people have other things to do. And so the end of November and December, we're not jamming, but we kick back up on January 6th. So you can always count on January 6th. We're going to have our jams. And I don't have the time on here. The time for our jams are from 6 to 8. 6 to 8 p.m. All ages are welcome. And if you just want to come and bang on a triangle for one song, you can. Now, Gary LaFleur does something that's really incredible. He has his notebook, and every jam that comes by, he writes down the people's name that play. Okay? So that middle picture is the cover, and the inside is an example sheet of him writing down the people and the instruments that they played. He finished his book in 2017, so I took it. And back then, I counted up the number of individual musicians that had played at one of our jams. That number was 139. This is in 2017, and our jams have only gotten bigger with more musicians. I'm kind of scared to get a second notebook and go through all of that because there's going to be a lot of names there. But what this means is that we're touching a lot of people. We're having little kids play. We're having older people play, and these older people saying, man, we love it. Not only that, but the people in the crowds, they love having us. We need more opportunities to dance because they will dance. They'll dance almost every song. There's a group of line dancers that come out, and it's pretty fun to watch all that stuff. So that's our jams. That's one way that we kind of spread the Cajun music message. The other thing that we do is we organize Cajun music for several regional events, you know, like I was saying. So we've done one recently for a 2-year-old's backyard birthday party. We had a trio go play. Jonathan recently invited us to get a band together for the Rougarou Fest, so we've done that. Corporate events, private events, different things that we do, we'll do that. And I keep a record of everything that we do since we started in 2014. Had the venue, the location, and whether it was like a trio that was acoustic, a trio with sound, or a full band, or was it a jam. So this list I'm going to show you does not include our regular jams at Gina's. These are all those other events between that. We've done this for 227 events. Okay, since 2014. That's not including our jams. And so this chart here, it starts off on August 29th. We played a Donner Pelche Distillery happy hour. And the last event we put Cajun music at was for the Man and Passive Academy welcome reception on June 27th. So, you know, we play Cajun Leno Night. We do jams in Homa. We play at the Chauvin Folk Fest. We play for Paddle Bayou Lafourche. So we do all kind of different things like that. And so the way this happens is that, say, Audubon Zoo wants to hire a band to play for their Cajun Day. They'll write us a check, and then we split that check up evenly among the musicians. So we don't make any money off of this as a booking agent. We are just a facilitator. And so, again, we receive the money from somebody, and we pass that money back to the musicians. Since we started, we've provided over $100,000 to local musicians, okay? And so not only are we providing music, Cajun music, for people in our region, but we're also helping our local musicians to get paid. You know, that's what we're doing. So we're pretty excited about that. We've been recognized by different organizations. We've been given an award in 2015. We got an EPA Gulf Guardian Award in Environmental Justice and Cultural Diversity. In 2017, we were recognized by the Thibodeau Chamber of Commerce as the C. Lindy Hoffman and Mary Ann DeLon Hoffman Music's Unsung Hero. And recently in 2022, the Louisiana Cajun Bayou recognized us with a Spirit of the Bayou Award. So we have people that think that what we are doing besides us is important. I mean, we're just playing fun. We're just having fun, you know, but there's people out there that see the importance of this. And we get to ride in parades. Oh man, is that so much fun. I mean, we'll do that. And we'll play, but man, let me tell you something I've learned. I used to do this, but I'm not going to do it anymore. when I was a spectator. We'll play a song for 15 minutes while we're rolling. We'll stop, catch our breath, take a sip of beer, and within 10 seconds, someone hollers, "Hey, y'all play a song." It's like, come on, let me take a break. But it's fun. And the whole time we're going down, we usually ride in the crew of Hyacintians in Houma. And the whole time on both sides, everybody's dancing. When they hear the Cajun music, they start dancing. And so it's great. But it's the little kids that notice us too. I'm going to read this for those of you that can't see the screen. This is a Facebook comment on our post about the parade. Someone said, a teacher, "I've been asking my students if they went to any parades last weekend. One shy little girl excitedly recalled a Cajun band that she saw on Sunday. She even mimicked playing the washboard with her hands that she shared with me. So we had a little two-step lesson in PE yesterday." So imagine that, a little schoolgirl at a Mardi Gras parade, the thing she remembers is the Cajun band. That's pretty cool to me. That means a lot. I mentioned to you the Swamp Stomp Festival that used to be on campus, and that was, our roots of where we came out of. We took that festival over and we moved it to Raceland at the pavilion down there. And we did it for a few years, and we would get these incredible bands. It was a one-day festival, no charge for anybody to come in. We got support from the Bayou Regional Arts Council, from the Jazz Fest. A lot of different other organizations would sponsor this, so we could put on this show. And we realized there was a lot of effort, and we would get a few hundred people there, but we thought we could do better. And so we decided to take our efforts of what we were doing and put it towards something that we call a Swamp Stomp Music Series. And so instead of having a one-day festival, what we do is we spread out throughout the year different full Cajun bands at different venues around the area. Most of the venues are at Gina's at the Legion, and then down on the Bayou Distillery. And this has been a huge success. I mean, to think in Thibodaux, you might have 100 people dancing on a dance floor to Cedric Watson all night long. And these shows are always from 6 to 9 o'clock. They're not late shows. I mean, I'm an old guy, I go to bed early, so I want the shows early. And it's been huge. And not only that, but we got bands from the Lafayette area calling me asking, "Hey, can we come play your Swamp Stomp Music Series?" They're calling us to come over here. And that's incredible. So we just had T-Mall playing June 22nd, a great show. Coming up, not this Saturday, but next on July 27th, we have Quenton Fontenot and the Rhythm Aces. No relationship to me. His accordion player is another Fontenot, Jacques Fontenot, but none of us are related, not that we know of. And but this is a good traditional dance hall style Cajun band for you guys to come and see. So come see it. And then August 24th, we have Jimmy Bro playing. He used to be the accordion player for Beau Soleil. He's got a Grammy award. We've had multiple Grammy Award winners come and play at our shows and sit in our jams with us. So that's pretty incredible, especially for the new musicians to play. Although I'm going off script real quick. When Cedric Watson was playing last time, we had this young boy, Dylan. I guess he's 11 or 12. He plays triangle with us at every jam. He puts his triangle in one bag and then puts it into another one. He takes it seriously, and he's there. Well, he was sitting there watching Cedric Watson play, and he leaned over to one of our friends and says, "You know what? This isn't as good as our jams." So I'm like, man, that kid is sold. He's there. And then the last thing that we're doing is we're training musicians. We partnered with Waylon Thibodaux to give fiddle lessons. And it's $100 per student. And this gives them 6 in-person lessons as a cohort. And then Cajun Music Preservation Society pays the rest of his salary. We put an investment in there for that. And we've seen success of this already, that at our jams, we have students of his that learn how to play fiddle through him. And now they're coming playing songs, and they'll do a solo while we're playing a song. And that would not have been possible if we had not made these Cajun fiddle lessons available, and so pretty proud of that. So, we're going to keep doing what we're doing. We love what we're doing. It's fun. It's a break in the middle of the week for us. And to see these little kids come out here. And one time we had 4 birthday parties at one of our jams, four different families. And each one was a great grandmother for the whole family. So each table had 4 generations of people there with them. And that says a lot to how much a community loves the Cajun music and what we're doing. And, little people like little Luke here, he was sitting there at the very first jam at the Foundry, and he came up playing triangle on washboard. Now, when he shows up, he will sit in that circle with us the whole 2 hours playing his washboard. He loves that. Little Evelyn LaBeouf, she came in very early on, and she'll play scrub board, and she sings. She'll sing the back door, and that's her on her float going through the parade Houma, singing the song with everybody, and so she's fantastic. But I think we've accomplished a mission. Not that we're done. We're going to keep rolling. we definitely have more Cajun music in this region than I think we would have if we wouldn't be here. We've got people learning how to play music and giving the community an opportunity to hear it, to participate, and to dance. And so I'm really, really, really proud of what we've done. And so I'm want to thank you all for having me here. And I think that's I can take some questions.
Yeah, thank you so much, Quenton, for all the work that you and your group have put into to that mission. We certainly, speaking for our organization, we definitely benefit from all of that work. So thank you for that. Anybody have any questions for Quenton? And you can virtually raise your hands, or if you just want to jump in.
Okay, I got one.
Okay.
What do you think, can you explain any difference between what we're doing on this side of the Atchafalaya compared to what's happening in Lafayette?
Yeah. Lafayette has such a strong base of musicians. They kind of joke about like they've got about 15 musicians, but 500 bands. And so many people over there play the music. That's one thing that we don't have in this region is a lot of traditional type musicians. And so when we do book a band, we're calling people from Lafayette to coming in. We're calling people from sometimes Baton Rouge. We're calling in people from New Orleans to come in. We have a couple of musicians, Roland Jeremy, Wesley Gaspard, those guys that play down the bayou here. We have some other local musicians that come to our jams, but it's not like they have in Lafayette. So Lafayette, what they are doing is they're in the sustain mode, right? They're sustaining that music over there. And I think we are still in that growth mode of trying to build up more of that tradition and have more people here capable of playing to do that.
Thanks.
Yep.
Any other questions?
I see Mark DeWitt is putting up his hand.
Oh,
Yeah.
Mark, yes,
I can't see anybody on the screen.
Thanks, Gary. Yeah. Yeah. Well, great job, Quenton.
Thank you.
My hat's off to you. It's hard to get something like that going, but I guess I was curious because when I taught at UL Lafayette, I would have students from down the bayou, and they would tell me that Cajun music was not that popular down there. That it was more known for swamp pop or whatever, and but you seem to have tapped into some kind of a vein of enthusiasm for the music down there.
Yeah.
And so I wonder if you have any reflections on that.
I do.
Yeah.
I do. And first I want to say, because I don't consider myself the president of the organization. I think Gary LaFleur is kind of giving me that title. And so it's not just me that's doing all of this. I meant to say that at the beginning. I'm presenting on behalf of the other group, because there's Jordy Allen, of course, Gary LaFleur. We've got our other musicians that play on a regular basis with us, and it's more of a community-led effort. It's just I'm the one that's kind of organizing a lot of stuff, but it's because of everybody that's part of this is our success. It's not just me. And but to go back to your answer or to your question, I've been told that the swamp pop down here been a big influence of R&B out of New Orleans. And Thibodeau-Houma area is a lot closer to New Orleans than Lafayette in that area. And that because of all the R&B music or the blues music and stuff that was happening in New Orleans, that kind of bled down here. And so swamp pop got a big hold down in this region compared to Lafayette. Although I did see that Ville Platte calls itself the swamp pop capital of the world. I don't quite understand that. But
they got a Hall of Fame over there.
Huh?
They got a Hall of Fame over there. Swamp
Yeah,
Pop
they
Hall of
do.
Fame.
Yeah, they do. So but there has been a tradition of Cajun music down the bayou. The old festivals used to have Cajun music. We used to have Cajun musicians come and play down here. And people like Wesley Gaspard and Roland Jeremy, I've heard them talk about like there's a whole Cajun music dialect that the way they play their accordion, the way they play their fiddle, it's a slight difference than what they hear in Lafayette. I don't have the ear for it, but someone who really has the ear for those subtle differences can hear someone from Bayou Lafourche plays a song a little bit differently than someone from Lafayette. And so there's that history that's down there. And so we do get Roland and Wesley to play with us as often as we can. And I love having those guys and hearing them play. They're really, really good. So I don't know if I answered your question.
Well, you have, and I think, you're really helping to strengthen the tradition in that area, which is really cool.
And I love all kind of music. Like I mentioned earlier on, we either listen to traditional Louisiana jazz music growing up. I love that. I love the blues. I love all kind of music. I used to have season tickets to the opera, and so, but when I saw that the traditional Cajun music, which is one of my all-time favorites, could use some help, that's why we decided to target that particular genre, because everything else in this region is holding on pretty steady.
Thank you.
Sure.
Mr. Robert, you have a question.
Yes, thank you. Congratulations. You've
Thank you.
shown that you can enjoy yourself a great deal while at the same time doing something so important. When I was much younger, there was a different sort of French music from the Bayou. Ben Bruce,
Yeah,
I think his name was.
Mhm.
Is there any trace of his kind of music around still there, or?
Oh, of course, yeah. So Ben Bruce, that's kind of what you call a Cajun country music.
Yes.
Kind of country music sung with a Cajun hitch. His grandson is playing now, and his grandson's come and played at our Ben Bruce. He's played at our jams, but a lot of times when people request songs, they'll request some old Ben Bruce music, and if we have musicians that know how to play it, we'll play it. Yeah, so absolutely, yeah. He's a hero down here. I know that for his music style.
Me too. Yes.
And there are his music still being played. I guess I can say that.
Natalie?
Yeah. Wonderful to hear about all the work y'all do. I had a question about the cohorts for the classes.
Mhm.
How are those structured? Like, is it similar to how y'all kind of do the bookings? Do they pay the society and then y'all redistribute the funds, or do the funds kind of directly?
Yeah. So what will happen is that each person who registers for the class will pay us $100, right? And then we try to, I think the original way that we set it up, it was a cohort of 10. And so we would pay Waylon half of his stipend, and then the other half would come from the students' tuition, I guess that's what it would be called. Now, we did find I was contacted by a lady out of Virginia or North Carolina, way out of state, but she's a Waylon Thibodeau fan, and found out about the Cajun Music Preservation Society and came to Thibodeau and met with me, and really likes the idea of what we're doing about these fiddle lessons and would like us to invest more into training young kids. And I knew she was going to offer to donate some money to us. And I was thinking, man, she's going to give us like $500. This is going to be awesome. Oh, that's a lot of money. She said, okay, I'd like to give you $5,000. So what that means is that now we can sustain these music things. And so we're going to use some of that money. We're partnering with the Bayou Children Country Museum. They've got a grant, and they're going to do this for young kids, like, I don't know, age 7 to 12, 6 to 10. I'm not quite sure what the age group, but it's really young kids with fiddle lessons. They're going to use the grant money to buy the fiddle, and then we will use that some of that donated money from that nice lady to pay Waylon to do the thing. So that's really cool to get those young kids involved in that.
Yeah, awesome. Okay, cool. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Is there anything that we can do, just, non-musician folk, like myself? I mean, I wouldn't consider myself a musician. Is there anything we can do to help support the work that you guys are doing, and how do we go about doing that?
Yes, come to the jams, come to the shows. That's it. Because if people don't show up, then there's no reason for us to play. And I say that as much as I can, that the reason that we are successful is because of people that come to the shows. If nobody would show up, there would be no reason for us to play, and we probably wouldn't be doing it. But because there is such strong community interest, we keep going, and we're able to maintain what we're doing. So the number one thing that anybody can do that's interested in this is just to come to one of our shows and enjoy it,
Yeah. Excellent. Thank you for that. I'd also like to encourage everybody to stick around. We're going to have a little bit of time after the formal part of the presentation to discuss a little bit more about the Cajun Music Preservation Society with Quenton. So please stick around for that. One thing that we like to do is we ask our presenters, what is your hope for the coast? And so we'd like to share that question with you right now, Quentin.
Sure. So my hope for the coast is that it's here forever. I
Yeah.
know that's probably not going to be possible because forever is a long time. But what my hope for the coast is that people that can fund and to make the restoration happen, they do that. We need the physical aspects of our coast here. We've got to have that. And the reason is that without the physical coast here, we're going to lose a lot of our culture. And so, as a scientist that works in coastal restoration work, I spend my day job preserving the physical aspects of our coast. But then I realized that it's just as important to preserve the culture of your coast as it is the physical aspects. So that's where the Cajun Music Preservation Society helps me mentally to understand what's going on.
Yeah.
That we are working on for the both angles. One, we got to keep the physical place there, but we got to keep the cultural place alive as well. And so my hope is that both the physical aspects and the cultural uniqueness of our region remain. Because, I'm not that far away from retirement and I need to get back to catching some fish. And I want to make sure my old honey holes are still there.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you for being with us today. Thank you
Sure.
for your presentation. Thank you for all the work that you do for our coast and keeping our traditions alive. We really appreciate having you with us today. And again, for everyone, please stick around because we'll be able to chat with Quentin a little bit more later. So thank you so much for that. If this is the first time that you're with us today, please know that the Bayou Culture Collaborative does have a position statement that you can sign on as an individual or that you as a group can sign on if you represent a group today with us. You can take a picture of that QR code or use that QR code on your smartphone to go to the website where the position statement is located, or you can find it by going to louisianafolklore.org. As a part of the collaborative, we also have working groups. So if there is a particular topic that is of great interest to you, we encourage you to join one of the working groups and check in with the things that they're doing. There are a lot of activities through the work that they do. So this is the Culture and Coastal Planning Group that meets on Monday, July 22nd at 2 p.m. The convener is Amy Lesson. Artists and Tradition Bearers, that's Wednesday, August 21st at 7 p.m. The conveners, Lola and Mark. Louisiana French Language, that meets Tuesday, August 13th at 6 p.m. The convener there is Miss Ivy. Protecting Collections is Thursday, August 15th at 2 p.m. The convener there is PUD. And then Preparing Receiving Communities, that will meet the next time on Tuesday, August 20th at 2 p.m. And the conveners there are Tracy and Haley. So again, if any of those things are of interest to you, we encourage you to please join those working groups, and you can find more information about how to join those groups at the website. We hope that you will be with us next month. For the next Bayou Culture Gathering, we have Miss Corinne Martin, who is the author of the Louisiana Herb Journal. And so she has a wonderful collection of information about some native plants with medicinal properties. And she's just a pleasure to speak with and listen to. So we hope that you'll join us then. And for registration details, again, all the information is over at louisianafolklore.org. So we hope to see you next month. It'll be Friday, August 23rd at 12 noon. At this time, if anyone in our group today has any announcements that they would like to make, any information that they want to share with the group, now's the time. You can raise your hand virtually or just chime in if anybody has anything to share with us.
I have it's not really an announcement, but kind of just a feeler to put out. We are in the process of trying to put together a, this is a little bit unrelated, but related, adult Louisiana French language class in Avoyelles Parish. We've kind of reached out to a few people locally who we thought may be interested in teaching, but we haven't really had any bites. So I'm just kind of putting the word out for anybody who potentially would be interested in teaching a 6 to 9 week course, potentially once a week, to some interested adult learners. So yeah, and if anybody knows of anyone or themselves has interest, I'll put my email in the chat.
Thank you so much for that. I don't know if Miss Ivy is on the call today or not. But please put your info there and we can have somebody from the French working group contact you, that maybe they may have the resources to help you out.
Okay, awesome. Thanks.
And thanks for doing that.
Oh yeah, well, like I said,
It's all a part of
yeah, well, we kind of like briefly mentioned it a couple of weeks ago, and then we had like 30, 45 people be like, I want to do that. So now we have to do it.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Thank you for doing that work.
Hi, I am on the call, and thank you for that. Yay! So, Jonathan, if you can give me the information, I'll connect you to also a website that we have. Maybe we can advertise there, and then we'll talk further.
Okay,
Yes,
awesome.
ma'am.
Thank you.
Sounds great. Thank you. Before we
I had an announcement. Hey.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes. Please.
Hi. Happy Friday, everybody. This is Jeannie, and I'm representing Louisiana Folk Roots today, just recovering from kids camps in the month of June. So glad to be back with y'all. So I did want to announce that we've been very fortunate to have some donations and a growing music instrument petting zoo. And so we are now with event sponsorship and a core of volunteers able to take it to special events and kind of do what Quenton talked about, help put instruments in the hands of people who might otherwise never have the opportunity to hold an expensive accordion or wear a rub board or touch a fiddle or whatever. So that the next event for that public event will be at the Children's Museum of Acadiana next week, Saturday, from 1 o'clock till 5 o'clock. And we utilize some UL traditional music students and just other friends that like to do these kind of activities. But I just mentioned that for the coastal region or others, that we're all stronger together and just trying to get the instruments into people's hands. I'm happy to help you in any way that we can do that. So.
Thank you for that. Is it a group that you're working with to produce those events?
So for example, the Children's Museum, this is the second time that we are going there. They provide a small event sponsorship to Louisiana Folk Roots, and we have fiddles, accordions, like real ones of various sizes. And we have a stand-up wash tub bass. Thank you, Mark DeWitt. We have a lot of toddler instruments, but this is for ages 1 to 100. We have guitars, we have xylophone, just a lot of things. And we make these available in kind of a system and with helpers at each instrument station so that people can learn how to use the instruments and hopefully get inspiration.
Yeah, excellent.
To keep going and sign up for the classes that the Preservation Society is doing or whatever.
And if anyone would like to contact you to get the petting zoo at their event, how do they contact you?
I'll put that in the chat, but it's lafolkroots.org.
Excellent. Thank you for sharing that with us. We appreciate it. Anyone else have any other announcements they'd like to share?
Yeah, Jonathan, I just posted in the chat that our next working group meeting for the Artists and Tradition Bearers will be led by Patty Bowman, who is a national leader in incorporating folklore in the schools and has worked with MADIS extensively in the past on the Louisiana Voices lessons plans that Louisiana Folklife has on their website. So we're looking forward to working with Patty.
Thank you for sharing that. And for everybody on the call, please consider joining that group and participating in that Zoom meeting, because Miss Patty's amazing. So that's really wonderful that you guys have her as a speaker. That's great. Anyone else? All right. So I would like to ask Dr. Fontenot once again to take the microphone and we're gonna play a short video
Sure.
for you all before we close the.
Yeah, so this video was produced by Misty McElroy, one of our founding members, and she is the public face of this. She does all the promotional materials and everything, and makes us look a lot more professional than we probably are. But this is a video from one of our very first jams of way back when we were still at the Foundry, and we use this to promote what we're doing. And it was I was looking through some stuff preparing for this presentation. I came across that and felt very nostalgic. So I thought it would be kind of a fun thing to share with you all, to just get you a feel of what it sounds like at some of our jams.
And I'm having some technical difficulties here, and I apologize. Let's see if it worked so well.
Yeah.
For so long, and now it's not. I apologize, you guys. Let's see what's happening here. Forgive me. Let me see if I can find that and see if it'll share it now. And it's all right. So maybe, Quenton, if you'll give me a second, I will maybe we'll go into the informal part.
Hey, you know what? I've got it up. It's Jonathan. If you want me to go and play it.
I would love for you to do that if you're able.
Can y'all see that?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Don't forget to share your sound.
Yeah. All right.
Thank you so much for sharing that video, and thank you for saving the day and actually getting the video up.
It's funny because remember I was having trouble early and you weren't, and
Yeah.
everything swept up when we went live.
Teamwork makes the dream work. So thanks for that. So again, that concludes the formal part of our gathering today, and we hope that you'll stick around for more conversation with Dr. Quenton Fontenot and his work with the Cajun Music Preservation Society. And we hope you join us again next month. Thanks so much for being here.
Thank y'all.